The Zar'konian capital ship hung motionless in space, its sleek, silver hull reflecting the dim light of a distant star. Inside, Admiral Kextor stood before the ship's expansive viewport, his forearms clasped behind his back. His iridescent scales dulled with worry as he gazed out at the asteroid belt that had become his people's last refuge. "How much time do we have left?" Science Minister Kextor asked, his voice a low rumble. Science Minister Vex Lee approached, his datapad clutched tightly in one of his lower hands. "Our latest calculations show we have approximately 6 standard cycles before our sun goes nova, Admiral. The shielding on our ships and temporary habitats will not withstand the blast." Kextor's facial ridges furrowed, "And our evacuation efforts." "We've managed to move 70% of our population to the asteroid belt, but without a viable planet to colonize, it's merely delaying the inevitable." Vex Lee's voice cracked with barely contained despair. The Admiral turned to face his old friend, noting the exhaustion evident in the scientist's posture. "What of the signal we detected? The one from the primitive world on the edge of our star system?" Vex Lee's eyes brightened slightly. "Ah, yes. The species calls themselves humans. They've only recently achieved spaceflight, but their technological progress is remarkable. However, they're still centuries behind us. I fail to see how they could possibly help." Kextor moved to the holo display at the center of the bridge, activating it with a wave of his hand. A holographic representation of the solar system appeared, with the Zar'konian homeworld ominously close to their dying sun. "We've exhausted every option available to us," old friend Kextor said softly. "Our greatest minds have failed to find a solution. Perhaps it's time we looked beyond ourselves." Vex Lee's eyes widened in shock. "Surely you're not suggesting we contact these humans? The risk of cultural contamination alone outweighs the certainty of our extinction." Kextor interrupted, his tone sharp. "No, Vex Lee, we're out of time and options. Prepare a first contact team. We're going to Earth." "Doctor." Jake Morrison squinted at his computer screen, the lines of code blurring together after hours of nonstop work. The air in the cramped NASA lab was thick with tension and the acrid smell of stale coffee. "Jake, you need to see this," his colleague, Dr. Amir Patel, called from across the room, his voice tinged with excitement and disbelief. Jake pushed away from his desk, his chair rolling across the worn linoleum floor. He peered over Amir's shoulder at the monitor displaying a series of complex mathematical equations and astronomical data. "What am I looking at?" Jake asked, stifling a yawn. Amir pointed to a particular set of numbers, his finger trembling slightly. "These readings, they're coming from just outside our solar system. It's a ship, Jake, an honest-to-God alien spacecraft." Jake's fatigue evaporated instantly. "Are you sure? This isn't some kind of glitch, or—" His words were cut short as the lab's emergency alarm blared to life. Red lights flashed, and a computerized voice echoed through the facility. "Attention all personnel. Unknown object entering Earth's atmosphere. This is not a drill. Repeat, this is not a drill." Jake and Amir exchanged a look of mingled fear and excitement. After years of searching the stars for signs of intelligent life, it seemed that intelligent life had found them instead. The Zar'konian shuttle touched down in a remote desert location, kicking up a cloud of dust that shimmered in the afternoon sun. A small contingent of human military and scientific personnel waited nearby, their expressions a mix of awe and apprehension. As the shuttle's door opened with a pneumatic hiss, Jake found himself holding his breath. He stood at the forefront of the human delegation, flanked by Amir and General Marcus Holloway, the stern-faced military liaison assigned to their team. 3 tall, reptilian figures emerged from the craft. Their bodies were covered in iridescent scales that seemed to shift color with each movement. 4 arms extended from their torsos, and their elongated heads bore intricate patterns of ridges and spines. The lead alien stepped forward, its movements fluid and graceful despite the obvious strain of Earth's gravity. When it spoke, a small device on its chest translated its clicks and whistles into English. "Greetings, people of Earth. I am Admiral Kextor of the Zar'konian Confederation. We come to you in our darkest hour, seeking your help." Jake stepped forward, his heart pounding. "Welcome to Earth, Admiral. I'm Dr. Jake Morrison. This is my colleague, Dr. Amir Patel, and General Marcus Holloway. We're honored to meet you, but I must admit, we're a bit surprised. We had no idea your civilization existed until a few hours ago. Kextor's facial ridges shifted in what Jake assumed was an expression of regret. We have long observed your world from afar, Dr. Morrison. Our policy has been one of non-interference, allowing young civilizations to develop naturally. However, circumstances have forced us to break this protocol. General Holloway cleared his throat, his hand resting uneasily on his sidearm. What exactly are these circumstances, Admiral? Kextor gestured to one of his companions, who activated a holographic display. The image showed a solar system not unlike their own, but with a sun that pulsed an angry red. Our homeworld star is dying, Kextor explained, his translator unable to fully convey the pain in his voice. In less than 6 of your Earth days, it will go nova, obliterating our entire civilization. We have evacuated our people to a temporary refuge, but it will not protect us from the star's death throes. Jake's scientific mind raced with questions, but it was Amir who spoke first. I'm sorry, Admiral, but I'm not sure how we can help. Your technology is clearly far beyond ours, if you haven't found a solution. Kextor's eyes, multifaceted and gleaming, fixed on Jake. You misunderstand, Dr. Patel. We do not come seeking your technology, but your innovation. Your species has a remarkable ability to find solutions where none seem to exist, to innovate under extreme pressure. We have observed how you've overcome seemingly insurmountable obstacles throughout your history. Jake felt the weight of an entire alien civilization's hopes settle on his shoulders. We'll do everything we can to help, Admiral. But we need to know everything you can tell us about your star, your evacuation efforts, anything that might be relevant. As Kextor began to explain, Jake's mind was already spinning with possibilities. The challenge seemed impossible save an advanced alien civilization from a dying star in less than 6 days, but the fate of an entire species hung in the balance. Failure was not an option. The next few days passed in a blur of feverish activity. The Zar'konian delegation was moved to a secure facility where human and alien scientists worked side by side, racing against time to find a solution. Jake stood before a massive whiteboard covered in equations and diagrams, his hair disheveled and dark circles under his eyes. Amir sat nearby, furiously typing on a laptop, while Kextor and Vex Lai engaged in a rapid-fire discussion in their native language. It's no use, Amir groaned, pushing away from his computer. We've run every simulation we can think of. There's just no way to stop a star from going nova, not with the time and resources we have. Jake rubbed his temples, fighting back frustration and exhaustion. Then we need to think outside the box. We can't stop the nova, so how do we protect the Zar'konians from it? General Holloway, who had been silently observing from the corner of the room, spoke up. What about our deep space bunkers? The ones designed to protect against cosmic radiation. Vex Lai's translator chittered as he responded. Our shielding technology is far more advanced than yours, General. If it cannot withstand the nova, I fail to see how your bunkers could. But Jake's eyes had lit up with sudden inspiration. Wait a second. General, those bunkers, they're not just shielded, are they? They're designed to absorb and redistribute energy, right? Holloway nodded slowly. That's right. They use a network of superconducting materials to channel excess energy away from the inhabited areas. Jake turned to the Zar'konians, excitement building in his voice. What if we're approaching this all wrong? Instead of trying to block the nova's energy, what if we could harness it? Kextor's facial ridges lifted in what Jake had come to recognize as an expression of interest. Explain, Dr. Morrison. Jake grabbed a marker and began sketching on the whiteboard. Okay, bear with me here. What if we could create a massive network of energy-absorbing satellites around your temporary refuge in the asteroid belt? When the nova hits, instead of trying to deflect the energy, we capture it. Amir jumped in, catching on to Jake's train of thought. We could use the absorbed energy to power a massive jump drive, one large enough to move the entire asteroid field. Vex Lai chittered excitedly. It's theoretically possible. Our ships are equipped with jump drives for faster-than-light travel, but we've never attempted anything on this scale. Because you've never had access to this much raw energy before, Jake finished. The nova itself becomes your salvation. Kextor's eyes gleamed with hope for the first time since his arrival. This could work, but the engineering challenges are immense. We would need to construct and position thousands of satellites in a matter of days. General Holloway stepped forward, a grim smile on his face. Then it's a good thing you came to Earth, Admiral. If there's one thing humans excel at, it's pulling off the impossible when our backs are against the wall. The next few days were a whirlwind of activity unlike anything Earth had ever seen. As news of the alien visitors and their plight spread, the world united in an unprecedented show of cooperation. Factories around the globe were repurposed to manufacture components for the energy-absorbing satellites. Space agencies from every nation contributed resources and personnel. Jake found himself at the heart of it all, coordinating teams of human and Zar'konian scientists as they worked to integrate their technologies. He marveled at the Zar'konians' advanced knowledge, even as he saw their amazement at humanity's ability to improvise and adapt. With less than 24 hours remaining before the Nova, Jake stood in mission control, watching as the last of the satellites moved into position around the Zar'konian refuge. The room was packed with humans and aliens alike, all holding their breath as they awaited the moment of truth. Kex-Tor approached Jake, placing one of his 4 hands on the human's shoulder. "Dr. Morrison, regardless of the outcome, know that you and your people have accomplished something truly remarkable. You've given us hope where there was none." Jake nodded, his throat tight with emotion. "Let's just hope it's enough." As if on cue, alarms began to blare. Vex Li's voice cut through the Chaos Nova event detected. Impact in T-minus 60 seconds. The room fell silent as all eyes turned to the massive screen displaying the Zar'konian sun. Even from this distance, they could see the star's violent expansion, its outer layers billowing outward in a spectacular and terrifying display. "Brace for impact," Kex-Tor commanded, his voice steady despite the gravity of the moment. The Nova's energy wave struck the satellite network, and for a heart-stopping moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, gradually, the readouts began to show massive energy absorption. The asteroids housing the Zar'konian refugees began to glow with an otherworldly light as the captured energy was funneled into the hastily constructed jump drive. Energy levels at 50% capacity. 75%. 90%, Amir called out, his voice rising with each number. Jake held his breath, silently urging the system to hold together for just a few moments longer. 100% capacity reached, Amir shouted. "Initiating jump sequence now." The screen flashed brilliantly, momentarily blinding everyone in the room. When their vision cleared, the asteroid field that had housed millions of Zar'konian refugees was gone, leaving only the fading remnants of their dying sun. For a moment, no one dared to speak. Then, a signal crackled through the communications system. "Earth Control, this is Admiral Kex-Tor," the familiar voice said. Filled with a mixture of relief and awe, the jump was successful. "We've arrived safely in the target star system. You did it. You saved us all." The control room erupted in cheers and tears of joy. Humans and Zar'konians embraced, all protocol forgotten in the wake of their shared triumph. As the celebration swirled around him, Jake felt a tap on his shoulder. He turned to see General Holloway, a rare smile on the old soldier's face. "You know," Morrison Holloway said, gazing out at the jubilant crowd, "I've seen a lot in my time, but nothing quite like this. Makes you proud to be human, doesn't it?" Jake nodded, watching as Amir excitedly explained some technical detail to a group of fascinated Zar'konian scientists. "Yeah, it really does. But I think it's more than that, General. I think days like today make you proud to be alive no matter what planet you're from." As the implications of what they'd accomplished began to sink in, Jake realized that this was more than just the salvation of an alien species. It was the dawn of a new era for both civilizations. Humanity had taken its first steps into a larger universe, proving that even in the face of cosmic challenges, the innovative spirit of mankind could shine as brightly as any star.